its thing, if you're not sweeping them with Kozilek's Return, Languish, stuff like that, it's going to spiral out of control and you're going to lose.
Yeah, Dark Salvation, a particularly sweet card to flash back with Jace.
Yeah, I heard of Dark Salvations killing Ormond dolls.
Oh, my God.
Maybe even as things as big as Emrakul, but yeah, that card's great.
All right, so that's the Pro Tour Gauntlet. You're going to be able to play that on Magic Online, but right now we have some Magic that's going to be right in front of us here at Grand Prix Portland. Let's go down to the floor. Welcome to Grand Prix Portland, round 11 coverage. There you see Christian Keith with Jund Delirium on your left. And there you see Chris Botello playing Cat Pact there on the right. Cat Pact being a deck that uses Demonic Pact and Harmless Offering to defeat their opponent.
Oh, that cute little cat on the picture.
That cute little cat. Have you looked at that cat's tail? That cat's tail is vicious. This is a scary matchup, I think, for a pack deck. If there's Emrakul's in his future, I don't know if this is straight Delirium, but you do not want to have a pact in play when your opponent's taking your turn.
Nope. Yeah, because there's one particular mode on that demonic pact that is going to be quite harmful to you if your opponent gets to pick what you're choosing.
All right, so we see Christian Keith leading things off here with a Vessel of Nascency. He sees an Ishkana, a couple of lands, and another Vessel. And it looks like he's taken the Vessel.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, I think Chris was on the play and actually missed his third land drop here, so that's not a great sign if that's the case. You asked me about my pre-Pro Tour traditions, and one of them was packing my cards. That's the first thing I always do. The second thing I always do is build a Demonic Pact deck. I've tried just about everything, and I've never been able to quite get it to work. Though I have to say that this time, the Demonic Pact deck that I built was Mardu colors, and I didn't actually try Grixis. Maybe Chris is onto something here.
Yeah. So you pack, and then you packed?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So third land for Christian here. I'm not sure. Looks like might be talking to a judge or asking a question.
So the front card in Chris Botello's hand is a card I love out of this deck. It's Oath of Chandra. Now, sort of an unassuming card. Sorcery speed, 3 damage to a creature, not that impressive. But what it does is it protects your Demonic Pacts from Dramoka's Command, gives you a buffer.
Oh, that's nice.
By the time Oath of Chandra's in play, it's already done its main job, so you don't mind at all if you have to sacrifice that to the sacrifice and enchantment mode of Dramoka's Command.
Well, it looks like we're not going to get to see Chris Botello do much here in Game 1. He's passed the turn again. You see him discarding Radiant Flames there to hand size. And a fourth land for Christian Keith.
Well, if it turns out that Chris is not able to find his third and fourth land in this game, the one saving grace of that is that Christian Keith's going to be in for a surprise after sideboarding. He's thinking, oh, okay, Grixis colored lands, Radiant Flames. I think I know what's up here. Just a Grixis control deck. No, there's a little more to it than that.
And that's what you would put your opponent on here if you were sitting across from him and he's just discarding that card.
Yeah, I would think, okay, this is the old-fashioned Goblin Dark Dwellers Grixis deck that people liked against Bant Company in the old format. But Chris has a few more tricks up his sleeve.
All right, here comes Nissa Vastwood Seer. Just steadily progressing his board, building out his graveyard. His Make Metallica Great Again hat.
That's pretty good. All right, there's a swamp for Chris Botello. It's good news.
And so, but no play for him here.
No, I'm actually a little surprised to see him not use the Oath of Chandra to kill Nissa.
Is he sitting? Does he have some sort of counter magic that he might be sitting on?
No, I saw him with a Disperse in his hand, which is a card that makes sense with the Demonic Pact game plan. You can use a couple modes on Demonic Pact, then bounce it back to your hand. Resetting it is even better than having to spend a removal spell on your own card.
All right, here we see Mind Rack Demon now from Christian Keith. This is a card that a lot of the decks that were trying to do Delirium pre-Eldritch Moon were playing. There you get a look at it. Flying Trample, when it enters the battlefield, you mill 4 cards. This does everything you want, right?
Yeah, so this, when you first look at it, you think, okay, 4 mana, 4/5 flying with a bit of a scary drawback. Not the case in these Delirium decks. That is definitely upside to be able to mill the top 4 cards of your library, and you almost always have Delirium by that point anyway.
Demonic Pact has hit the board here for Chris Botello. And there you see putting lots of dice in all sorts of places so he can remember all the things he needs to do on his upkeep.
Yeah, you can tell that Chris has a system for managing this card.
So really what you want to do now is use the 3 good modes here and then maybe bounce the Demonic Pact back to your hand.
Yeah, exactly. So I love this card because it just gives you so many options, and especially in a game like this where Botello finds himself behind, he has to choose which modes are going to catch him up most quickly. He can use the draw 2 cards to find his land drops. He can use the War Leader's Helix mode to...
Which is what he did to the Nissa here.
Yep, to manage the board and to protect his life total.
So he goes up to 16, and now he's taken another hit from Mind Rack Demon.
And then the third mode is to mind rot the opponent. The normal play pattern with that one, I think, is that you're going to use it last when your opponent is lower on cards, or you can set up a big turn where you use 2 mind rots in the same turn to just clean them out.
And I wonder if that's what he's doing right here. Or is he drawing 4 cards? He's going to just draw the 2 from the first. And now he is in full harmless offering mode here. He's just looking to get...
Yeah, I guess that's what he's looking for.
We're going to see a 3rd Demonic Pact. We got 3 Demonic Pacts in play.
Okay, so it looks like in his upkeep he used one of the Demonic Pacts to draw 2 cards, one of the Demonic Pacts to deal 4 damage to the demon, and then finished it off with Oath of Chandra.
Very nice.
Yeah, so I was skeptical way back on turn 3 when he didn't use the Oath of Chandra, but Chris had planned this out way in advance. I like it.
So all he's doing right now is going, please no Emrakul.
Yeah.
Please no Emrakul, because your opponent controls your turn. They're just going to choose to have you lose the game.
And Christian Keith must be thinking, boy, where did this go wrong? The board looked a lot better for me a few turns ago.
All right, here comes Nissa. Grows it back with Liliana's ability. -2. Goes and gets a forest. He's got 7 cards. Now, and really, his cards are dead against Chris Botello. He's holding a Languish. He's holding Fiery Impulse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as you mentioned, this game has quickly come down to Emrakul or bust, I think.
Yeah, you see Nissa Sage Animist flip over a Evolving Wilds, which Christian just immediately cracks. So we're getting down to 1 ability left on that first Demonic Pact. We do know he has a Disperse, though. We saw that earlier in hand. And Christian Keith is discarding to hand size now. Oh no, I'm sorry. He was discarding to the ability. Yeah, the mind rot. Okay, we're stripping apart his hand. I got it.
And I think if Botello finds Harmless Offering here, that's going to be game over, right?
If you can't start your turn with that Demonic Pact in play with 1 ability, there's no opportunity to respond to it, right?
Right. Yeah, that's right. The trigger will go on the stack no matter what.
I see a red card.
Wow.
Wow. There is the harmless offering. Take this demonic pact. Make good use of it. And target opponent gains control of target permanent you control. There you have it. Demonic pact has only one option left on it. You lose the game, is what Chris Botello tells Christian Keith. Christian Keith's like, really? Did this just happen to me at 9-1? Is there anything I can do? No, there's nothing you can do.
Botello should pass that slip of paper across the table, too, just to remind him, yeah, these 3 modes are already used. Your options are limited.
And now he has to appreciate it. Great sportsmanship there from Chris. He's like, okay, all right, now I see what's happening. Chris has probably had that look on his face all weekend every time he gets to play that card. Wow, that was great. He missed 2 land drops.
Yeah, that game was looking as bad as it could have looked for Chris Botello in the early turns, but then his deck did exactly what it's supposed to do. Demonic Pact, extremely powerful card when you get to actually stick it in play.
Yeah, and you just saw all the things he was able to do. He's able to clean up the board. He's able to dig for cards. He's able to strip his opponent's hand. Meanwhile, we're going to check in on Cody Lingelbach playing Blue-Green Crush. So this is a Crush of Tentacles deck against Andrew Solano with Black-Green mid-range.
So Cody Lingelbach had back-to-back top 8s in one of the previous standard formats, and both with different brews. He had a Mardu Thopters deck first, and then a Grixis Dragons Flyers deck, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty impressive guy, being able to do so well with his own creations.
Yeah, I got a chance to spend some time with him in Spain prior to that Pro Tour, and he was very very impressive young Magic player.
So to add to the list of cards that I never would have expected to see in Standard, Send to Sleep in Cody Lingelbach's deck, 3 copies. And Sight Beyond Sight. That's the slow rebound card draw spell.
What? Sight Beyond Sight?
Yeah, 4 mana sorcery. Look at the top 2 cards, put 1 in your hand.
Right.
Rebound again next turn. Sort of like a read the bones on delay.
Wow, that's crazy.
And then Andrew Solano playing more traditional black-green mid-range deck. We've seen stuff like this before. And wow, this is actually a very old-fashioned style of list. He's still playing Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger instead of Emrakul.
It doesn't cease. Woodland Bellower, for Nissa Vastwood Seer or Tireless Tracker. Couple of Planeswalkers in Obnixilus and Liliana. And then just a lot of ramp removal and a little tutoring with Dark Petition.
Yeah, he has 1 Emrakul in his sideboard, but other than that, this looks like the exact deck that Andrew Solano's been playing for a while. Black-green, sort of mid-range, sort of ramp, Seasons Past Dark Petition deck. Seasons Past only in his sideboard for this tournament. But.
By the way, a lot of counters on that Lumbering Falls.
Yeah, that must be from an Awakened Part the Water Veil, I'm guessing. Yep, 3 copies of Part the Water Veil in Lingelbach's deck.
And there is Crush of Tentacles.
That card probably part of the reason that we see so many lands in play and so few non-land permanents on both sides of the board.
Draft 16. Please go to the blue gathering point for your draft to begin. Draft 16.
So Send to Sleep locks down 2 of the creatures, and I wonder if that is Cody's main goal or whether it's just setting up the Surge on Crush of Tentacles.
Yeah, I think he is just setting up Surge here. So there's the Crush of Tentacles. It's like, yeah, you have to pick up your Nissa too. He's like, oh yeah, well you have to pick up your Clue.
Yeah.
Get it. 8/8 Octopus. By the way, you also have a clear board to swing in with your Lumbering Falls right now.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew Solano goes to activate his Hissing Quagmire to block, and it gets immediately sent to sleep. So now Cody has the option to, he doesn't, because that's an awakened land, he doesn't have to animate it. But if he does animate it, it becomes even bigger, right?
Right. So it's going to be a 9/9 creature when it's animated. And note that even though it is a creature at all times, Crush of Tentacles specifies non-land cards. So an animated land does not get bounced back to his hand. Brian, in all your years of doing coverage, have you ever seen octopuses be such an important tribe in a standard format?
Outside of a commander game after round 9, no. I love it. Okay, Ob Nixilis comes down and just points right at the octopus.
And you can see Cody being extremely careful to keep mana open for his Lumbering Falls at all times. This is because if Andrew ever points a removal spell or an Ob Nixilis activation at Lumbering Falls, Cody can activate it in response and it'll have hexproof.
So that is Nissa, which had been returned to his hand. He just puts it on the Sage Animus side because he... Oh, wait. Does he not have... Fails to find on Forest, but he might just have another land in hand already?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Suddenly he's...
Tony Pashos, please go
Suddenly
to
this
the
game
blue
seems to
gathering
maybe have
point
swung
for your
around a
draft
little
to
bit
begin.
for him.
Tony Pashos.
Okay, well, this might be here for a while. These guys are still in game 1, so I think they'll still be here when we get back. Let's go back and look at our main match. I want to see some more free kittens.
Yeah. Boy, we've picked good decks for this round to cover. No more Bant Company mirrors. Now we're into the good stuff.
I wish you guys could see Reed's face right now. The idea of a Demonic Pact deck doing well, he is very, very happy.
Yeah, I know what I'm playing next tournament. So the key cards from Christian Keith's side of the table, I think, are going to be, of course, the Emrakul that we mentioned a few times in Game 1. He's going to be looking for that. And also Distended Mindbender. Mindbender
that card seems great.
Can come down either before the Demonic Pact to make sure the Demonic Pact never hits the table, or it can come down after and try to strand Chris Botello without a way to remove his own Demonic Pact. Discard spells generally just excellent against a deck like this with so many moving parts.
And there you see Transgress the Mind. Taking a look at Christian Keith's hand. At Chris Botello's hand. It sees a lot of land and infinite obliteration. Is that a
I think
Dark
that's a Dark Petition.
and an Oath of Jace?
So Oath of Jace has that same cool effect of protecting Demonic Pact from Dramoka's command that we mentioned in Oath of Chandra. It also helps you dig, helps you fill your graveyard.
And how about that island?
Yeah,
That's
nice.
pretty.
No red mana for Botello, but also no red cards just yet. It's going to be a while before he actually needs to cast that
Christian's really in the tank here on this.
harmless offering.
So what is that? Does Keith have? He had the main deck. He did have an Emrakul main deck in game 1.
Yeah, we don't have Christian Keith's deck list in front of us right now,
okay.
but traditionally the Jund Delirium deck, that is one important part of its game plan, is getting up to the Emrakul.
Wow, look at this. Christian is really agonizing here.
Yeah, he knows how important Emrakul is in this matchup. It's very difficult to beat the Demonic Pact deck fair and square with creatures. So if he loses his Emrakul to that Infinite Obliteration, it's going to limit his ways to score an easy win.
Ultimately decides to obliterate the Infinite Obliteration.
Yeah, so that's really planning for the long game here. Oh, and I think it was a good decision because he actually drew Emrakul this turn.
So now he gets a duress.
This is just the type of hand Christian Keith wants to have. He has tons of discard spells. I think I even saw Distended Mindbender.
Takes the Oath of Jace this time. So he had one Emrakul in his main list, and then he has an additional one to the side. I imagine he would have brought that in.
Yeah, I think so too.
Number 17. Please go
But
to
now
the
it's
blue
Christian's turn
Oh
to miss
no!
land drops.
Yeah, he's missed his land here, and
Oh,
look
a
at this,
Demonic Pact
right
on
on
time.
Wow.
After the 2 discard spells, finds Demonic Pact on turn 4. And you see that he's not afraid to cast it because he has Dark Petition to find an answer once he needs one.
So third land for Keith. He has the Emrakul in hand, but he is turns and turns away. Even optimistically, the most optimistic version of casting an Emrakul turns away from it.
But if he can start making his land drops, maybe get that Distended Mindbender onto the stack, that'll be a really good start for him and can delay Chris Botello's game plan.
It's Chris.
So here's a Dark Petition with no spell mastery, but he's just going to set up next turn, make sure he has 1 or maybe even 2 ways to deal with his own Demonic Pact, so he's not going to lose to it.
Now, I know was talking to a couple Portland players who were testing the Grixis donate list, as they were calling it, and they said that often against the Emrakul decks, you sometimes have to give them a Demonic Pact with a good mode to go. You know, like you can't wait around for them to Emrakul you while you still control a Demonic Pact.
Yep.
And if they're close to Emrakul, sometimes you just have to go like Demonic Pact, here, take this, and hope that they you can keep the game going long enough for them to lose.
That's interesting. That's some pretty great forethought that I might not have considered the first time I picked up this deck.
So it's sorcery and lands are the only 2 creature types in the yard there for Christian Keith right now.
Mm-hmm. He picked up an Ishkana Graph Widow from the Liliana Minus.
Now he's discarding 2 cards to Demonic Pact, and he discards the Graph Widow and an Emrakul.
Yeah, so that's pretty nice.
And look at this. Here you go, with a good mode to go.
And does Christian Keith have any way in his deck to deal with that? He has 1 Caustic Caterpillar in the sideboard. That might be his only way to take an enchantment off the battlefield.
Wow. You got to use a mode here, and I think he domed Chris Botello for 4.
Yeah, not going to be good enough to actually get Chris down to 0, but it at least buys
at
him 1
this.
turn. Wow.
Chris Botello with the Demonic Pact says free kittens for everybody, and he goes to 10-1 here at Grand Prix Portland with Cat Pact.
Yeah, that was a really dominant showing by that deck. Excellent.
Yeah, and you could tell he has played his fair share of done his fair share of playtesting against the Emrakul deck. He said, you know what? I think you might be able to cast an Emrakul next turn. I cannot hold on to this Demonic Pact any longer.
Yeah, also worried about discard spells there. He doesn't wanna get his most important card sniped by Transgress the Mind.
Meanwhile, still in game 1.
Still in game 1.
Blue-green Crush versus black-green mid-range. And we see a Woodland Bellower into Sylvan Advocate and another Sylvan Advocate for Andrew Solano.
Solano now at the very precarious life total of 8, meaning that either the Octopus or the Lumbering Falls is going to be lethal. I see a Den Protector in Lingelbach's hand, so if he has enough mana, he can go Den Protector back, Send to Sleep. Oh, he just has Send to Sleep already, which is going to be good enough.
Wow. Doesn't even need to bring back the Crush there.
Yeah, we tuned in exactly at the right time to see Cody Lingelbach finish the job that took him, seemingly 25 turns to set up.
Wow, that's crazy. So there you get a look at the feature match area. You see those guys still doing a little post-game analysis on the end of their match. He's like, I can't believe you demonic pacted me. I think that's actually what he just said. And then you get a look at Corey Lingleback on your right, Andrew Solano on your left, and our other match in the feature match area this round, which is between
So Solano and Lingelbach have some commonalities between their two decks. Both players are trying to ramp at least a little bit. Lingelbach more so than Solano. Lingelbach has 4 copies each of Nissa's Pilgrimage and Explosive Vegetation. But Andrew Solano has Nissa's Pilgrimage in his deck as well. And if he can get up to his cards like Ulamog, Ulamog, I guess specifically is going to be the most important one to ramp to. Emrakul, the Promised End, as well. Whichever player can ramp to their more powerful spells first is going to have a big advantage. Other than that, Andrew's going to be forced to play a little bit more of a black-green rock strategy with discard spells, trying to put on pressure with his creatures, and just make sure that Lingelbach can't assemble his game plan.
Can he assemble a Emrakul Crush of Tentacles plan where he's bouncing his own Emrakul and taking?
Oh, I certainly hope so.
He does have an Emrakul in his sideboard.
Yeah, I think we'll see that come in for a matchup like this.
Yeah, I mean, certainly. I mean, he could have just cast it for 13 that game.
Yeah,
he could have cast it with an empty graveyard. I mean, Cody should think about it.
So we haven't seen this too much of this blue-green Crush of Tentacles deck, but Lingelbach's doing excellent in the tournament. 8-1-1 so far. His deck features small number of creatures that are pretty good to be bouncing back to your hand and replaying. Elvish Visionary, Den Protector, Nissa Vastwood Seer, and he's ramping towards big plays like Ulamog, like Partha Waterveil. He's smoothing his draws with some card drawing like that Sight Beyond Sight that we mentioned.
So we have an Ulamog mirror match.
Yeah. Ulamog, a card that has gotten nearly forgotten in the wake of Emrakul being so popular, but Ulamog still wins you the game when you cast him.
So here's a duress. It sees a handful of Crush, Anticipate, Explosive Vegetation, Summary Dismissal, a card that has gone rocketed up in utility, and 3 lands. Takes the Explosive Vegetation out.
Yeah, and that's a pretty common and important part of the black-green deck's game plan. The only tool you have to actually fight the opponent's ramp spells is your discard. So a lot of times you need to use Duress to take out Explosive Vegetation, and you need to use your other tools to neutralize the other plays the opponent has.
And now here comes a Transgress the Mind, and we see that Cody has picked up a Death Mist Raptor, and that gets exiled. So that's about as good as it gets dealing with a Death Mist Raptor.
Yep.
So here's an Anticipate from Cody at the end of the turn.
2 Death Mist Raptors in Cody's sideboard. I guess they're both for matchups where the opponent's attacking on the ground, and for grindy matchups like this where you know the game's going to go long.
It looks like Cody anticipated into a Nissa's Pilgrimage here.
Wow, that's perfect. Exactly what he wants. And he was even able to protect it from discard spells because, of course, Transgress the Mind can't take away Anticipate.
And there you see he also had Spell Mastery, able to get 3 lands out of his deck with that. 1 in play, 2 in his hand.
Not a great turn for Solano here.
Oh, just hissing Quagmire you?
Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not sure if Solano drew Transgress the Mind on turn 2, but things would have broken a lot better for him if he was able to take the Anticipate with the Duress and then Transgress the Explosive Vegetation. That would have hurt Cody's chances of finding the Nissa's Pilgrimage. It also would have perhaps not allowed him to have Spell Mastery when he cast it.
Draft number 19.
Looks like a Distended Mindbender. Oh, no, it's another Transgress.
Draft to begin. Draft
Cody thought about for a second about summary dismissal, and he said, well, you're probably just going to take that out of my hand anyway. So
Yeah, I wonder why he would not cast summary dismissal there.
I don't know. Maybe give his opponent a chance to not take it.
Maybe.
And here's a Death Mist Raptor. So he did side in both. And it's going to be taken out with Grasp of Darkness. Yeah, not much going on here. He does have a Dark Petition in hand. And he's just going in with the Hissing Quagmire again.
So he's clearly thinking about, in the long term, what that Dark Petition can get him. His most powerful cards are Ulamog, Emrakul. He has a Gaia's Revenge in his sideboard, which I wouldn't be surprised if he brought in for a matchup like this. And then, of course, he has Seasons Past, so he can start that loop going if you would like.
Both players are not really doing anything here. Lingoback just getting in with his Lumbering Falls.
Yeah, so Lingoback's hand just lands in Crush of Tentacles right now, which no non-land permanents on either side of the battlefield to be bouncing.
There's an Evolving Wild from Solano. No attack.
Just picked up another island for Lingelbach.
Lingoback gets in with the Lumbering Falls.
And he's willing to trade creature lands here because he has 2 creature lands to Solano's 1. And he just has plenty of lands in hand. He's not worried about his mana development at this point.
So Hissing Quagmire Death touches the Lumbering Falls.
Yep, a fair trade.
And Cody Lingelbach plays another land. Still has 7 even after losing that one. And says go. So Andrew's starting to size things up for, here's Read the Bones. That's a nice draw here.
Yeah. He just wants to be careful with which lands he chooses to use the Read the Bones.
Here it is. So scry 2, draw 2.
Okay. I think he'll put the Nissa's Pilgrimage on top and look for another card. So this way he can ramp towards using Dark Petition for one of those big expensive cards that we talked about earlier.
Getting close to Ulamog here.
Yeah, getting close to Ulamog, getting close to Emrakul. This will also give him the ability to cast Dark Petition and Seasons Past in the same turn with the Spell Mastery.
In comes Lumbering Falls. Cody just plays another land. You see the downside of the Crush deck when you draw all your Crushes.
He has a very reactive hand, and it does mean that he has tools to delay Andrew Solano if Andrew is on, Sylvan Advocates, Woodland Bellowers, Ishkana Graph Widows, then those Crush of Tentacles are going to be very good. But I think Andrew has constructed his deck in such a way that he can bypass all that mid-range stuff and just go straight for the end game.
Okay, so he Dark Petitions for Woodland Bellower, plays Woodland Bellower, and digs out a Tireless Tracker here. Plays a land and gets a clue.
I'm not thrilled about this plan in the face of the Crush of Tentacles that he knows about from earlier discard spells. I would be more inclined to just go straight for one of the Eldrazi Titans here. But the good news is Tireless Tracker in a protracted game like this is one of the best cards you can have access to. Even if it gets bounced repeatedly, he can still just keep replaying it, making a clue. He has tons of mana to crack those clues. So he'll be able to find more action.
But look at this. Cody Lingelbach's able to go Explosive Vegetation into a surged Crush of Tentacles, makes an Octopus, and says go.
So that sets Solano back. It also puts the 8/8. Oh, wow.
Ulamog gets to take
Very
out
nice.
an Octopus and a Lumbering Falls.
Oh, a possibility that I actually had
and
not
then
considered.
takes out 2 lands.
It's possible that Solano Dark Petition for something else like that Ulamog and just head Woodland Bellower in hand to use the mana on.
Oh, okay.
Perhaps I spoke too soon and criticizing his play.
Or already had the Ulamog.
Yeah, that could be possible as well.
All right, so Nissa comes down, transforms into the Sage Animist. And what is Cody going to do about Ulamog? Finds
Yeah.
a Nissa's Pilgrimage off of the +1.
Crush of Tentacles is definitely not the answer you want to Ulamog. Send to Sleep is pretty good, but the presence of Ulamog on the battlefield is actually going to effectively turn off Crush of Tentacles for the rest of the game for Cody, because he doesn't want to let that Ulamog go back to Solano's hand just to exile 2 more permanents.
And still can manage to get 3 lands out of his deck. The advantage of playing the 2-color deck with all the basics.
Yeah.
You see sometimes people get that second Nissa's Pilgrimage and they're like, I don't have enough forests anymore.
Certainly in a game like this where it's just a contest of who can play the more powerful spells, you want to have that large number of basic forests.
So I think we're going to see... Andrew's down to 4 here, so he has to be very wary.
Yeah, so he's thrilled to have been able to take out that Lumbering Falls. Now there's actually not that much hasted damage that Cody can produce in his deck.
So here goes
Big
Ruinous
turn.
Path. Yeah.
Killing both of Cody's
Yep.
non-land
attacks with it
permanents.
and kills Nissa's Sage Animist. And if Cody wants to crush here, I think Andrew's pretty happy with it.
Yep.
Ulamog gets to untap.
We might actually see Lingelbach concede here rather than reveal the 20 cards off of Ulamog.
Gets another clue. Goes to his attack step. And
Yep.
that is exactly what happens. He might have also just been dead.
Yeah.
He was at 16.
If Solano cracked some clues to Tyler's tracker, that he could have made 16 damage there.
Wow. All right, so we're going to see a game 3 between these Ceaseless Hunger decks.
Yes, sweet decks.
Joshua Turner, Blue Gathering Point.
Fascinating. I mean, the early turns of that game were so weird, where they're both just sort of cracking back with creature lands, and Andrew's just taking apart Cody's hand. And his Crush of Tentacles didn't look great in that game, where there was just one big, powerful creature that Andrew sort of sculpted his turns towards.
Yeah, so Lingelbach had those 2 Crush of Tentacles stuck in his hand for much of the game, and they ended up just not being an effective answer to the enters the battlefield triggers of Andrew Solano's deck.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about how Cody builds his deck so that all of his creatures are great with Crush of Tentacles, but the ones in Andrew's deck are pretty good too.
Yep, absolutely.
I mean, the Tireless Tracker and the Sylvan Advocate get a little annoyed, right? They're like, come on, really? But Nissa Vastwood Seer, Ulamog, and Woodland Bellower are all great cards to replay, as is Emrakul if that came in.
Now we're taking a look at the undefeated match here.
So this is JC Tao and Jin Sui. 4-color Amalgam versus Abzan Control. Wow. Soren doing some work here.
And Zinsui is up a game. But thankfully, JC gets a lot of extra tools off the sideboard in more discard spells, Infinite Obliteration.
So sends his team at Soren. Soren goes down to 1. Here comes Jace Vryn's Prodigy. Zin wants a Planeswalker as well. Reveals a swamp off of Soren. Lines up his lands. Looks like he has a Gideon, ally of Zendikar, in hand. He does. Plays it. Makes a knight. Wow, those guys, I guess, didn't do a lot of sideboarding for game 3 because they are already underway. Let's go back to that match and watch Cody Lingelbach versus Andrew Solano. So here's a Death Miss Raptor on turn 3 for Cody. Gets to come out of the gates a little quicker in this game. He's on the play, so. And there's Tireless Tracker. So this is a little bit more of a traditional game of Magic.
Lingelbach has a cool card in play there. It's I actually can't place the name of but it's the land from Battle for Zendikar that keeps a creature tapped.
There's Anissa's Pilgrimage. Just gets 2 lands. No spells, much less spell mastery in his graveyard when he casts it.
So funny enough, in a lot of ways, Lingelbach's deck plays like a combo deck. He's looking to ramp his mana and set up for big turns with Crush with Tentacles and Part the Water Veil. However, this little incidental damage that he can get in the early turns with Death Mist Raptor and Lumbering Falls actually makes a big difference, because we've seen in the 2 previous games him threaten big turns with Send to Sleep, where he just needs to get through 1 creature to deal the last little bit of damage. Skyline Cascade, the land in play.
So Tireless Tracker versus Death Mist Raptor. In comes the Raptor. Tracker just steps in the way. And nothing brewing here for Cody.
Yeah, it looks like Solano has a pretty powerful hand and just wants to protect his life total and make sure things don't go too wrong.
So he's going to transgress, and now we're going to see Cody use the Summary Dismissal to counter that.
Yeah, I think that's wise. That puts an instant in his graveyard for the purposes of spell mastery, protects the information of Solano seeing his hand.
And Nissa Vastwood Seer is the follow-up for Solano. See the players using the checklist cards a lot here this weekend. There's an Elvish Visionary.
Ooh, and he drew Sight Beyond Sight. It's one of the perfect cards for this turn.
And there he is. He's casting Sight Beyond Sight.
Solano says, what the heck is this?
We'll see if we can get that card up for you. So there you see, he's just leaving it there. It's got rebound. In comes Nissa.
I think I see 2 Obnixilis in Andrew Solano's hand, which is not great at killing Elvish Visionaries, but it is great at drawing cards and making sure the gas keeps flowing.
Yep.
Standard 3.
Actually decides to sack a clue instead of playing Obnixilis.
Standard 3.
And hits Transgress the Mind. He's like, what were you protecting so hard there?
Yeah, Part the Water Veil he takes almost immediately. He knows that that's not a card he wants to face.
So Cody gets to go digging for some new cards here.
Found a Den Protector, which can not only get back his best card, whether that's Summary Dismissal or Sight Beyond Sight, but it's also going to bring back Death Mist Raptor along the way.
Yeah, and that's what he does. So here comes Nissa, Sage Animist, on Andrew's 7th land drop. Cody's like, oh, do you want an elemental token? No? Andrew's like, maybe. We'll see. Yeah, he's like, okay, yes, I do. I agree with your analysis of this situation, Cody Lingelbach. Ruinous Path targets the Den Protector. And it's going to get Void Shattered.
Second copy of Nissa.
Wow.
I like this play by Andrew Solano. He knows that Cody doesn't have much hard removal in his blue-green deck, and he also anticipates that his transformed Nissa Sage Animist is likely to bite the dust in the face of 3 opposing creatures.
So Den Protector turns face up, brings back Deathmist Raptor. Den Protector also brings back Summary Dismissal.
Yep. So I think Lingelbach casting Void Shatter on that turn was mostly a case of wanting to use his mana as effectively as possible and also maintain enough creatures on the battlefield to pressure Solano's Planeswalkers.
So Cody's able to just send the Visionary at Sage Animist and then send the other 2 creatures at Andrew. It drops him to 7 here, and his creatures are not untapping.
Yeah. He might get tempoed out here. And remember, there is a Lumbering Falls back there as well.
So here comes Nissa Sage Animist number 2. Now, does he want to go right into another elemental token? And because his didn't untap this turn?
Yeah, so it is a legendary token. He would have to lose the tapped token, but maybe...
And that's what he does.
Yeah, desperate times call for desperate measures.
So basically just uses Nissa to untap the
Yep.
token.
And he also is using Quagmire to protect himself, so he's not in big trouble unless Lingelbach can find another Send to Sleep. So Lingelbach's hand features Lumbering Falls, Summary Dismissal, Explosive Vegetation, and oh, he does have another Send to Sleep.
With Counterspell backup.
Yeah, although his mana is a little bit constrained here. If he wants to both activate Lumbering Falls and cast Send to Sleep, he's not going to have enough left for Summary Dismissal, and that's what you see him puzzling out here. He's thinking about all the possibilities. He's thinking about the timing, because if he attacks and passes priority, then Solano might just choose to block with the Ashaya token rather than activate Hissing Quagmire. It's a little bit of a
If he knew he was
subtle
going to
song and
activate
dance.
Hissing Quagmire, he would just send in the team.
Yes.
But Andrew's seen enough of Send to Sleep that he's not going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And Cody came to that conclusion and just sends in the Deathmist Raptor to trade with the token.
And this is great news for Solano because he's going to get to untap with Nissa. His life total is still really in jeopardy here against now 2 Lumbering Falls, but if he can find some removal spells, he might be able to stabilize the situation. Oh, Duress is a big draw here because he can take away the Send to Sleep. Well, perhaps not because of Summary Dismissal, but if he could take away the Send to Sleep, then Hissing Quagmire becomes a reliable blocker again.
Here's Duress. Cody says, fine, which one do you want?
Yeah. I don't know why he wouldn't cast Summary Dismissal here.
Solano says, you can have the counterspell. I want Send to Sleep to go away.
Yep. And part of that's because he has a Transgress the Mind, which can take Summary Dismissal but not take Send to Sleep.
Ah, look at that.
And this turn would have played out a lot differently if Cody had cast Summary Dismissal on the Duress.
And now he casts it on Transgress. But
Yeah. If Solano had known exactly the 2 cards in hand, he could have sequenced the discard spells in the opposite order to still get the same result.
So there is... Oh, wow.
Oath of Nissa finds Den Protector, which is just perfect. Remember, there's a Deathmist Raptor in the graveyard to go along with it.
And that can get back that Summary Dismissal if need be. Oh, no, the Summary Dismissal is... Oh, it countered the Transgress, so it's not exiled.
Oh, yeah. Yep, that's right.
So, animate Lumbering Falls. And attack with Den Protector, Elvish Visionary, and Lumbering Falls.
Such a tight game here.
Yeah. Hissing Quagmire is going to take down a Lumbering Falls. Oh, I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, everything was attacking him, not attacking Nissa here.
And this drops Solano to a very precarious life total. Thought it would have been 3, but either 2 or 3 means that he's...
I think he had to take a pain from his Llanowar waste to animate his Hissing
Ah,
Quagmire.
that's right. In either case, he's being threatened by 3 lethal attackers here, the 2 Den Protectors and the Lumbering Falls, and actually the Death Mist
Yeah,
Raptor.
Death Mist Raptor's going to come back from the graveyard.
So he's going to need a big turn.
Here's Tireless Tracker.
I think this is going to be it. If Lingelbach decides to go for the kill here.
23. Please go to the blue gathering point. Draft 23.
And passes the turn back to Cody. Oh, we're in extra turns, by the way.
Oh, wow.
So time has elapsed in the round. You see that that die. So this is turn 1 of 5 turns. Animate Lumbering Falls and Cody Lingelbach and the blue-green Crush deck go to 9-1-1 here.
Wow, really impressive.
Wow, that's crazy. We see that our other match is still going on here. Not sure where they are in terms of extra turns, but
And the difference here is
playing
that
very fast.
this is not game 3.
Oh god!
Sinsui is up a game, so the only way JC Tao can escape with a win here is if he somehow finds a way to win this game almost immediately, and then game 3 goes quickly. But no, Sinsui actually finishes the match 2-0.
Wow, and he's 11-0 here.
Is he our last undefeated player?
I believe he is. I haven't seen standings yet, but impressive. And that's definitely the best result we've seen from that Emerge deck, from the prized amalgams. A lot of those had fallen out, but that's it here for round 11 on the floor.